Oh yeah, got that motor job. If you guys haven't seen that video, why I don't like dealerships, go ahead and check that out. Oh, of course, I'm recording right as the heater kicks off, so I could have waited, I could have waited 2 seconds and had it be quieter for you guys, but fuck it, I'm done. Anyway, so I put it back together because I'm a gentleman. That's after inspecting it. And then we relayed what I found to the dealership, and they were like, "Oh yeah, bud, that's what we were saying. Yeah, that's what we were saying, bud." And I was like, "Well, what about that timing chain?" They're like, "Oh yeah, it still needs that timing chain. The timing marks don't line up." And I'm like, "The fuck they don't?" And it's a brand new chain and guides. Like, "Oh, but the guides were worn." I'm like, "You just put them in 30,000." Anyway, I'm not gonna get into this, but we're doing the motor, so. I think we'll just time lapse it, and then I'll probably do a voiceover. I think we'll try that one for this. So yeah, there you go. To my there's about 200 of you subscribers. Over half of you are here for repair videos. So there you go. Fucking repair video. Fucking A. Let's give her. Oh, by the way, yeah, we're going against procedure as usual, as we usually do here. We are not going to be dropping the K-frame with the trans and the motor all together. We're just going to be pulling that motor out the top. I'm going to show you how. We're going to start here by taking out your air box and intake assembly here. Pretty straightforward. You're going to need an 8mm on the throttle body, 2 10mm up here for the box. And it just kind of pulls right out of there. No big deal. Then we're going to go ahead and take the little engine cover off, take your oil cap off, take the engine cover off, put your oil cap back on. And what else are we doing? Oh, we're going to take the cover off the old computer box over here. That just slides right out with the tab. Then we're going to pop the electrical connectors off one by one. They just got little lock tabs, and then they crank forward and you pop them right out. I think then we're going to go ahead and remove this computer. That's 1 10mm, and then another locking tab, and that'll slide out over the battery. And we're going to go ahead and attack our battery itself. 2 10mm. You're going to need a wrench for the positive side. We're going to take the battery holder off. That's more 10mm. Going to have to pop this little piece of plastic off. It's designed to pop off and fold back as you see here, and then you can get the last remaining bolt for the battery tie down. Once you have that, obviously get your terminals off there, pull the battery out, and then we're going to go ahead and start taking the electrical connectors off the engine. Pretty straightforward as well. You're just going to kind of want to follow the wiring harness, and anything that's attached to the motor you go ahead and disconnect. You can see here I'm starting with the coils, obviously the easiest thing on top. I have a little bit of a hiccup here on the VVT solenoids. One of them, they like to stick basically, but if you push down, unlock the tab, and pull out, they'll get you. You'll get there. Those are probably the most pain in the ass connectors on the whole fucking car. Even all the locking tabs are easy, but. Let's see here. Still going with the electric connectors. This one, sorry, that's a vacuum connector. My bad. Going with the vacuum connectors. Gonna pop that off of there, and then we're gonna go ahead and continue on hitting what we can as far as electric connectors that we can see from up top and access from up top. Obviously, this is a time-consuming process, so be prepared to sit there and fiddle around with connectors and locking tabs and all that good stuff for a little while. But just make sure everything is disconnected off the engine. Now we're going to go ahead and take the battery tray out just for easier access to all the things over there. There's one hidden 10mm bolt there, and then your AC line is also held on by another 10mm bolt. Pop those off of there, and the side of the tray and bottom of the tray will come out as 2 separate pieces. Looks like I'm going to go ahead and grab the ground at the back of the head. This bolt is a pain in the ass. It's really long, unnecessarily long, and you kind of have to sit there and hit it with a wrench until it pops out. So I think as far as up top goes, pretty much there. I'm gonna interject here, by the way. How you doing, guys? Voiceover, Riggs is gone, person in front of you, Riggs is here. So, well, I got shit going on in the background. Hopefully it's not picking up too much of that. It's just a podcast. But anyway, pretty much done up top here for now. I'm gonna go underneath, jack it up, go underneath, get all the rest of the electrical stuff. O2 sensor, I think maybe another O2 sensor, something else down here. The power steering plug, the electronic power steering plug, that's always a bitch. So I might not be able to get it, but at this point we're loose enough to just go up and over anyway, so might not go that far, but I definitely got to go down here, get it off the AC, and a couple other plugs down here. Alright, here we are underneath the car. Like I said, getting those remaining electrical connectors off the AC and the alternator, and I'm also disconnecting the starter power and its plug as well while I'm under there. We then had this awesome piece of vacuum hose that runs the brake booster right off the manifold. You like that? You shouldn't. Okay, well, I probably mentioned it in the voiceover, maybe not, but camera died right at the wrong moment. Got the intake manifold off. Check this out, listen to the gas gurgle. Isn't that funny? Gargling back into the tank. Anyway, get kind of a twofer here, get to explain. Well, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory why I took the intake manifold off. Look at all the room for activities now. Now we can get that alternator out of there easy, get the AC off without having to disconnect the lines. Yeah, pretty sweet there. And we got, oh yeah, the twofer. So the biggest problem on these, or one of the biggest problems, there's a lot of problems with an Equinox. I don't think I'm going to get into it right here and now, but we got a few problems with these things. And the one with these, with the 2.4 Ecotech, the later generations here, is in this intake manifold. Hopefully you can see it. But there's one of your evap ports, I believe, right there in the dead center. And here's where that goes into the intake manifold. There's a little vacuum reference right in there. Well, the hole, there's supposed to be a hole right there in the middle, and as you can see, it's just gummed up. So here, I'll grab a pick. We're going to be reusing this intake manifold anyway, as it has the throttle body on there. But in here somewhere, got to kind of dig around. Oh man, oh, there it is. So right in there is a hole. I don't know if the light's good enough. I'm blocking my own light. There we go. It's supposed to be a hole in there, and you're going to want to kind of pick that clean and then blow it out. But that clogs up, and that creates your PVC problem, and in result for this one was blowing out the rear main seal, leaking all the oil on the highway, and grenading. So we'll get back to it. I got a fresh battery in here, but these are Chinese, you know, Amazon batteries, so I don't know how good they are. We'll see how long this one lasts, and I'll just swap in the regular Sony battery. Hopefully these guys quit crying. Well, I guess I'll be doing a voiceover, so never mind, you guys won't hear them crying, but they've been just constantly crying the whole time. I've let them out 40 times. I mean, that's just what they do. They own me, and they know it, so I've just been ignoring them, but it's really something irritating. Yeah, you're really irritating. But goddamn, are you cute? Aren't you cute? Pretty cute dog, bud. Well, you're kind of fat, but we're losing weight, right? We're on a diet. We're on a diet, Woz. He's pretty pissed. Pretty pissed about that. So yeah, now we're gonna go ahead and get to taking the alternator and the AC off. Your alternator, all the bolts are gonna be 13s, and then your studs, you're gonna need to remove the studs in order to get the alternator out without bending or removing the AC lines, and then also to remove the AC compressor itself, again without having to disconnect the lines. You're going to want I believe that was a 5mm socket for the studs to get those out. Once you get your alternator out of there, then obviously you can attack your AC compressor with the same vigor as you did with the alternator. And then once, obviously, as you can see, I kind of got the wiring laid up out of the way, halfway in between there, just to get it out of my face. You're going to want to go ahead and, once you have the AC compressor removed, simply set it on the front of the crossmember radiator support. So I did have the camera die at that point. As you can see, I have gotten a little bit more done off camera. I wasn't paying attention to the camera, so it died without me knowing. But what you missed was I took the little bracket that holds the air box off the back of the motor, and I took the heat shield off the exhaust manifold. Right now I'm getting the 3 15mm nuts holding the catalytic converter to the exhaust manifold and letting that hang. We're gonna go ahead and just check, make sure all that wiring's nice and loose back there and off the motor, and good to go. Now we're gonna go ahead and pull that dang starter on out of there. You're gonna need, I can't remember if they were 13s or 15s, to be honest with you. I'm pretty sure they were 13s, but just 2 bolts, starter comes right out. So now what you're about to witness is probably the best part of the entire video. This is when I slide underneath the vehicle. I'm not gonna speed this part up either. For the first time here, well, really get underneath it for the first time and open my eyes and pay attention and use my brain. And I realized that this is an all-wheel drive Equinox, not a front-wheel drive Equinox like I thought it was. So not only did I kind of underquote a little bit of labor on this job, I have a whole lot more shit I gotta do now. And as you can see, I'm not super thrilled about it. I kind of just wanted to lay there for a minute and relax. So that means we're gonna have to go ahead and pull the passenger side front axle. You got yourself a 19mm nut on the tie rod end. You're gonna have 2 21mm nuts on holding the strut to the knuckle, and then you're gonna need to pound those out with a punch. Then next on your to-do list is going to be a little 13mm bolt holding the brake line and ABS sensor wiring to the strut. Then you're going to need a 36mm for the axle nut itself. And then you're going to go ahead and pull that axle out. Make sure you support your hub and spindle so you're not pulling on the brake line or the ABS sensor wiring. Then from underneath, just go ahead and give that axle a little bit of pry. It'll pop right out of there for you. Then you got the little bracket that's holding the carrier bearing part, and it's really holding the end of the T-case to the other end of the block. And that little bastard has 5 separate bolts, all of which you're gonna have to get creative on getting out. It's a real good time. 2 of them are easy, 3 of them aren't so easy. No big deal though. What we got? Man, my voiceovers suck. Okay, well, basically what happened here is I spent 10 to 15 minutes complaining about my camera batteries and how hard it is to videotape a repair video for you guys, but in lieu of leaving that in the ether of the internet and listening to anybody bitch about it. I'm just gonna skip over this entire part and we'll go ahead and get right back into the good stuff. I'll just quickly mention what you missed. Again, the camera batteries were dying on me like crazy. I went through 3 batteries in one day, so this is just what happened. But you guys missed the rear trans mount, which is also the rear transfer case mount, and also the transfer case removal itself. Both really easy. Also, both have videos in, out on YouTube that you can go find and watch if you really need to know, but it's not too overly complicated. Get your eyeballs on the situation, you should be able to figure out. But basically there's 3 through bolts on the top of the T case, 2 on the bottom that you can see with your eyes obviously, but 3 through bolts that go through this bracket into the T case, or rather through the T case and then into the transmission, bolts it all together. So other than that, you really only missed fluid draining. That was trans fluid, because again, pulling the T case is going to result in a big trans fluid leak all over the floor. Draining coolant and draining oil. Just draining all the fluids basically. And then there's really nothing else that you guys missed other than, there's a little tiny bracket, steel bracket that holds this catalytic converter up specifically. I don't know if all models are like this. I know that the V6 model has a flange where this pipe bends and where they put the hanger. I don't know why they put it like that, but that's what you get. Anyway, let's get right back into the action. I think that's all you guys missed, so no freaking out. Again, all you missed was the removal of the T case, which I couldn't have got the camera down there anyway. You wouldn't have seen it. Even if the camera didn't die, you wouldn't have seen what I was doing anyway, so you would have had to rely on my explanation here. So sorry about it, but hope it helps anyway. Okay, so we're right there. Another little interjection for you. We got the wheel back on. Just quickly put together that stuff, and then just to get myself all the headroom I can get. But I don't think I'm gonna record it. I just think I'm gonna show you guys this, because it's just nonsense to set up on the tripod and then lose footage. But just gonna drop the coolant hose. Oh, I forgot that this thing will just move now. That's right. Probably pushed it into the Jetta a little bit. Sorry, Jetta. My bad. Anyway, yeah, we're just gonna pop the coolant hose off of there. Pop the reservoir hose off of there. They both go to the thermostat housing right there, and then pop the 2 heater hoses off. And then I just have 2 bell housing bolts. One of these bell housing bolts has a main battery ground. So it's like a 13 mil first, pop that off, and it should be 2 18 mils or 15s maybe, but probably 18s because they're the top 2. So 2 bell housing bolts. I already got the torque converter nuts, or bolts rather, 3 of those out of there, and then motor mount with the sling, and should pop right out of here. I will record that for you guys, so you can see that it does come off the top, no problem. Okay, quick pro tip. I thought I would be smart and avoid taking, I don't know if you can see it down there. Thought I would avoid taking the thermostat housing off, but it's right above, oh, focus you fuck. It's right above that bolt with that negative battery cable I was telling you about. So in lieu of taking the reservoir hose off and still not being able to get that nut, I'm just going to take the thermostat housing off. But you can see you got the heater hoses off. Got that hose off, but like I said, it doesn't do much. You might as well just take it off with the thermostat housing. That'd be easier. Oh, here I go again, getting ahead of myself without including you guys. So we are ready to lift. Just hand loosen those remaining bell housing bolts, and then get this guy out of here, and should be good to go. I'll throw you up on the tripod quick. So it is time to get to pulling this son of a bitch. Gonna start by, I already had the 2 top bell housing bolts hand loose, so I'm taking those out by hand right now. It took a minute, so I skipped the first one for you, showing you the second one. And then we're going to move on to the motor mount over here. That's going to be 315 bolts. Leave the middle one for last, kind of loosen it up. Put some tension on the motor, loosen it up, put a little bit more tension on the motor, and take that last bolt out of there. That way you're not just gonna slam things into the side of the chassis anyway. Then you're gonna have two 18mm nuts remaining on the motor mount. That's attaching the motor mount to the chassis. And once you get those two out of there, you can just pull the whole motor mount right out. Give you all the playroom in the world. And I believe I did leave one bell housing bolt. I'm watching this with you, so we'll see. It's looking like, yep, looks like I did. So I have one last bell housing bolt there. That's right by the starter hole that I left, and I got that out. And we're gonna start slacking this motor out. Basically, as with all top motor pulls, you're just gonna wanna, give her a few pumps, keep an eye on it, give her a few pumps, keep an eye on it. Because I got, as you can see, I'm going down here. At one point here, so this is all still down. I haven't even lifted on it yet. I pulled it back just now. And I go to start lifting, and right away I see the torque converter is turning with the motor. So we let that back down. Grab me a pry bar, and we're gonna go ahead and get that torque converter the rest of the way out of the pilot bearing. That's a big oof if you don't get that done. I have before in years past definitely reamed on those. I don't know if I ever really broke a seal, but I definitely reamed on them way harder than they ever should have been reamed on. So nowadays I always pull it away from the transmission, the motor, and then as I start to go up, I keep an eye on that torque converter, make sure I'm completely clear of that. Once you're clear of the torque converter, you're just going to want to keep an eye on everything else. I had a little hang up with the crank pulley, so I should have kept that off. I put it back on to turn the motor over by hand so I could get the torque converter bolts out. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about now here. But I put it back on and didn't take it back off, and it did kind of hang up a little bit, so I kind of had to make it, cockeyed just a little bit, and was able to get around that. And then the last thing you're going to be looking for is the exhaust manifold hitting the cowl. I've done this a few times before, so I know exactly when to stop. Yep, I'm mentioning it now. And you go ahead and you just pull it just a little bit forward because you got all kinds of room in the world. And just keep an eye on it, keep a hand on it, and crank it the rest of the way out. These really aren't complicated engines to do, even with the all-wheel drive. The pulling the T-case is really realistically just another 20 minutes of labor. But there you have it, a top pull from an Equinox. Hell yeah.